Hi, welcome to the Libertarian Alternative. My name is Mark Selzer, and the Libertarian Alternative is an educational television show that we in the Libertarian Party put on for the benefit of the community. And today's guests are here to talk about the Second Amendment and various other things, the Liberty Bells. And today we have Anna Z. and Jennifer Freeman. Thank you both for coming out today. Now, you are, Anna, you're married with 3 kids?
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct, as of the last count.
How about you, Jennifer?
I'm not married.
Not married?
No. Just working,
She's the single one, if you found her particularly cute. I come with a lot of baggage, and a husband.
And a husband. Well, I'm sure after this show you'll both get lots of marriage proposals in the email and from your websites. Now, you're used to be with the Second Amendment Sisters. What happened there?
We needed to go in a different direction.
Yes, we used to be with the Second Amendment Sisters, and we felt that we had a particular connection to California and Los Angeles and the country, actually, but from the perspective of reaching the mainstream. Mm-hmm. So we had different ideas about basically what would be the best way to serve the Second Amendment and to serve self-defense rights. Mm-hmm. The Second Amendment Sisters seemed to prefer a more traditional approach, and we just had different ideas about what was the best approach. So we decided to form the Liberty Bells.
And they wanted background checks, too?
Yes, they wanted the volunteers to submit to background checks.
Well, there were a lot of, it was really just a lot of differences. But more specifically, as Jennifer said, they were much more sort of traditional and much more kind of middle America, which is great, but mm-hmm. we were trying to kind of start a trend. Uh-huh. Like, the right to self-defense is cool, liberty is fabulous, jump on, but not by looking like, and we'll give you a piece of pie. So we had to kind of break away and do that. Plus, we were very active in California.
Right.
And it was best to sort of take what we had built and go forward with that.
That's right. We want to appeal to modern, urban women. Uh-huh. And California does set a lot of trends. This is where the entertainment industry is.
So it was tough being run by a woman from Mississippi. But that's just an opinion, right?
So you wanted some appeal to the Gen X crowd also?
Well, I think that, especially you're a libertarian. I mean, uh-huh. You do this show. Is it not staggering that younger people are more turned on by communism and socialism when they're the most powerful people in the universe, when they are have individual liberty that's enshrined by law and protected by government, that they would give that away to the collective? I mean, it's shocking to me. So how is it that we get those younger people? It's certainly not by doing things the way they've always been done. It's mm-hmm. by doing it in a new way. Nothing that anybody does is ever new.
Yes.
All you do is take wisdom, what has worked in the past, and repackage it for a new generation, because memories are so short.
Before they had gun control, they probably had sword control, and that probably didn't work either.
Well, anytime anybody has wanted to, be more powerful than the peasants, uh-huh. they've always found a good enough excuse. But a lot of times people voluntarily become peasants. Uh-huh. So we're trying to show people that, hey, you know what? You're actually in control. Don't give it up before you absolutely have to. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's an interesting thing. I think that most of the young people, the most libertarian young people, for some reason just don't vote. That's the main thing, is they're just not interested in doing that. So, but before we go into all this stuff, what made you at the beginning, even before the Second Amendment Sisters, and what made you, before you left them, what got you involved in the whole gun issue, the whole self-defense issue?
Well, for me, it was when I got a handgun. Mm-hmm. I got a handgun, and then I had kind of heard some buzz about some gun control laws, and I didn't really know that much about it, but I felt that I had a responsibility as someone who owned a firearm to at least know what was going on. And once I found out what was going on, I realized that we were in serious trouble, and I had to do something. I had an obligation to do mm-hmm. something. I have a responsibility, because to me it's the essential symbol of liberty. firearms. And we have an obligation, there have been people who fought for our country, who died for our country, going back hundreds of years. And when we see that our liberty is in trouble and is at stake, we have a responsibility to do something. We can't just sit out.
And how about you, Anna?
Well, I was always really laissez-faire about guns, although I had grown up for 5 years sort of in the woods where everybody had to have guns. But then when I moved to a more urban setting, it just doesn't seem like anything until you remember that predators aren't only furry with non-retractable claws. Some of them have revolvers or knives or their bare hands or whatever. And I realized that the city can be just as dangerous as being in the woods, and more dangerous, in fact. And so when I realized this, I wasn't living in the country, but then when I moved here, I realized that for a country that had that right to self-defense enshrined and allegedly defended by the government, in fact, their sole purpose to exist is to protect our liberty, and the Million Moms came out, and I thought, wait a minute, as it is, you really can't exercise your right. Certainly living in California, when I was mugged at 11 o'clock in the morning in broad daylight, and that afternoon I was a gun owner. Had that happened in California, in a country with a Second Amendment right, an unalienable right to defend myself and to keep and bear arms, I couldn't have done that. I would have had to wait 11 days. And I thought, wait a minute, and you're screaming for more gun control? What about self-defense? What about the fact if a riot breaks out tomorrow, I have to sit around for 11 days and hope they stay away from my neighborhood? Just that they're kind and wonderful. And I started to look at all the laws. You know, here in California, you can't carry your gun in your car loaded if you're going to everything has to be locked and separated. I like to say, in case they get together behind your back, and drive, because there's been no drive-by shootings since they passed that law. Well, there certainly isn't anyone that can stop the drive-by shootings because everything's separated and locked in the trunk out of your reach. And I realized these people are screaming about gun control, and they've got the whole equation wrong. The problem isn't gun control. What they want is people control, and the only way you can do that is to make everybody reduce their liberty to a more slave-like existence where you're more reliant on somebody else to defend you, which is a joke. You can't even sue the government if they don't defend you. All you can do is nothing. Just hope that they put a pretty piece of tape around your corpse on your living room floor. That's all you can hope for.
So gun control laws haven't brought down crime?
No, gun control increases crime. Waiting periods increase crime. Trigger locks increase crime. All of the things increase crime. If you take a look at the map of the United States in the past 25 years, where you were able to have, even Texas, you couldn't get a shall issue concealed permit 25, 30 years ago. Now it's like 35 states where you can. And in every state where they have given a must issue, which means I go to the sheriff, he says, okay, you've got nothing in your background and you're not insane, yes, you may get a concealed carry permit. It's a must issue. Some places they have shall issue. Still here in California means you have to get along with the sheriff or be some kind of friend or be the color that he likes or whatever it is. And gun control is very racist. That's the seed of it.
Definitely.
It was started by Ku Klux Klan. Michigan Gun Control Act of 1927. In Alabama, all of their gun control acts were begun by the Ku Klux Klan because when blacks were freed, they were like, wait a minute, do they have all the rights of Americans? Can they have guns? Oh, we better stop that. And that's the root of it. So when people fight for that, they don't even realize what they're fighting for.